What are some of the key differences between Chinese models of development and the Western path? Well, for starters, China's middle class, at least for now, is not the vanguard of political change. And that's because the Chinese state, unlike the European states, is smart enough to open its doors to the middle class. When the middle class in Europe emerged, the monarch and the Pope got together to hold it back, to beat it down, to clamp down on it. And that's why they ended up overturning those institutions. The Chinese state is smarter than the Holy Roman state. The Chinese state, beginning in 1979 with Deng Xiaoping and the decision to let businessmen join the Communist Party, has essentially been co-opting the middle class ever since Chinese began to privatize the economy about 30, 40 years ago. And what that means is that you now have a big middle class in China, but it's not a middle class that is doing the same thing that our middle class did. It is a middle class that is essentially a defender of the status quo and an investor in state capitalism. In that respect, yes, China is becoming a middle-class society, but no, its middle class is not having the same political impact as the middle class of Europe and the middle class of the United States did. Now, it may be that sometime down the road, when China continues to modernize, continues to develop, continues to urbanize, you might get a middle class sizable enough to push for democracy. I actually think that will probably happen. But when is that going to happen? A long time from now. How long does it take these transitions to work themselves out? Well, Britain became a constitutional monarchy in 1688. When did it become a democracy? 1884. Germany began to become a constitutional monarchy in the mid-1800s after the Napoleonic Wars. It became a liberal democracy after World War II. In other words, these things take time. And so the operative question in my mind is China going to be a liberal democracy by the time it becomes a world power? And the answer is no. It will be a world power long before it is a liberal democracy. And I would also point out that in the world that we live in today, we no longer need change and entrepreneurship to come from below as we did during the rise of the West, because we live in a globalized world in which huge amounts of capital and services and goods are sloshing through the global economy on a daily basis. And that has meant that state capitalism has its advantages. What are those advantages? Mainly keeping a hand on the tiller. And I don't think it's accidental that China and other countries that have control over their currencies and over their capital accounts and over state-owned businesses have actually ridden out the global financial crisis better than countries that are more open and more free. And that confounds what we believed. We were originally told that globalization will advantage countries that are most liberalized and most free. I don't think that that's actually proving to be the case.